Welcome to the Raising Confident Girls podcast, your guide to raising strong, confident daughters. I'm Melissa Jones, the founder of Girls Positivity Club and a teacher for over 20 years. In a world where girls often feel overwhelmed, anxious, and confused, this podcast is your go-to space. As caregivers, we navigate challenges together. I founded Girls Positivity Club to provide a place where you belong and get the tools to face today's hurdles. Consider this your regular check-in with a trusted friend, offering insights and practical tips for meaningful conversations. I'm here to help you feel confident on this journey of raising a generation of empowered girls. Let's dive in and raise those confident girls together. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Raising Confident Girls. I'm so happy you're here today because this is our 1-year birthday of our podcast. So I'm so happy that you've listened, whether this is your first time or you've been here lots and lots of times or every time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is because of you that I show up every week, and I hope these episodes have been helpful to you and your daughter. The biggest gift that you could give me would be to tell me what has impacted your life. Tell me what has helped you and your daughter. I love to hear from people and what episodes are resonating most with them. So I pour my heart into this to help you raise those confident girls, because I know we all believe that raising confident girls will change the world, because it will. And so please let me know, Girls Positivity Club at Gmail or Girls Positivity Club on Instagram or Facebook. And I would love to hear from you either way, even if you just want to say hi. So thank you for being here today. And our topic today is going to be all about peer pressure, and not just the regular topic of teen peer pressure and the things that we all heard growing up about dangerous, risky behavior. Yes, that is part of it, but there are hidden things about peer pressure that are more subtle and that affect girls at every age. So as usual, this is to help you have more open communication with your daughter about topics like peer pressure, to create that open space to talk, and also to try out different techniques and tips to see what works with your daughter, and what doesn't, because that's part of parenting, isn't it? Is like, you are trying to figure out what is going to work, what is going to help empower your daughter, what is going to help keep that communication line open, and what is going to help her live her life in her best way. And that doesn't mean it has to be perfect or that you have to be perfect. I know I'm not perfect, but I hope that these tips are helpful for you today. And so when we think of peer pressure, like I said, we often think of the risky behavior, something in high school, something we see on TV where it's like a teenager being pushed to do something super risky, like jump off a cliff, or do drugs, or do, vape or smoke or do things like that, and, or, anything else you can imagine in your mind. But what really is the more subtle thing about peer pressure is that it can come in lots of different forms. And so there are subtle ways long before the risky behaviors come into play. And so there's a hidden side of peer pressure that a lot of us don't even realize is happening, and it can affect our daughters at any age. So it's not about doing the dangerous things, like I said. It's more about wanting to fit in, or feeling the need to act or look a certain way, or it's pressure to do what everyone else is doing to be accepted, or, just thinking about following trends and having a certain amount of social media followers or whatever that would be. And I hate that that's true, but these are quiet pressures that can shape how girls see themselves and how they make decisions and how they interact with their friends. And so whether your daughter's in elementary, middle, or high school, peer pressure is still at play all the time, and it's important to know what to watch for so that you can help your daughter navigate it. And it doesn't always, like I said, lead to those dark paths, but what we want to do is equip our girls with all the tools that we would have needed growing up, what we want to give them so that it's proactive, so that it's not like us reacting to something that happens later that we didn't see coming. And so it's not that you can prevent every single thing, but we want to do everything in our power to give our daughters all the tools to feel good about who they are, to feel confident in knowing what's right and wrong, to listen to their inner voice, and all of those things that we want to make sure keeps them safe and keeps them healthy, both mentally, physically, emotionally, all of those things. So it's important to know what to watch for so you can help her navigate peer pressure. And so if you imagine your daughter, I want you to think of your daughter at the age she is right now or at an older age. I want you to imagine her walking into a room full of kids her own age. And I want you to imagine her feeling confident about who she is and knowing exactly what's right for her, whether it's deciding who to sit with, whether it's what to wear, whether it's joining in on risky behavior. She stands firm in her values and her beliefs. And this vision is what we want for all of her daughters. We want them to feel self-assured. We want them to be unshaken by the pressures of others. We want them to feel like they can stand up for themselves and not feel like they have to please others, but also being kind and accepting of others at the same time, and finding her place to belong where she is valued, she's treated with respect, she feels like she can speak up when she needs to, and all of those good things. But how do we help them get there? That is what we're always asking ourselves, right? Is like, how do we instill this confidence and resilience they need to navigate this peer pressure no matter what their age? So this is the way that peer pressure shows up in different stages, and it depends on your daughter's age, and what might seem like a minor issue in elementary school can evolve over time into more significant challenges in middle and high school. So in elementary school, peer pressure often comes in the form of fitting in with the group, whether it's deciding what to wear, what games to play, what books to read, or whether to conform and to do what everybody else thinks is fun, even if they are having that signal in their body that it doesn't really feel right. That is elementary school, and there are a lot of different examples of that. Middle school, it's where the peer pressure becomes a little bit more complex because it's all about friend groups. It's all about who they want to associate with, dealing with exclusion, feeling like there's gossip, there's jealousy, there can be not knowing who to trust, and even body image. Like there's a significant peer pressure that has to do with the way that they look, the way that they dress, the way they perceive their bodies. And that is something that most people don't think about as being peer pressure, but wanting to look a certain way, feeling like they have to look like other people, that can also be a peer pressure. And then in high school, it can obviously be the things like alcohol, drugs, vaping, smoking, even cutting and like self-harm can be a peer pressure type of thing. Like if some people, not that someone would ask them to self-harm, but like if they see their friends doing it and they don't know how to handle their emotions, unfortunately those things can happen. They think it's normal to do those things because they don't know how to deal with their emotions. These are all things we want to avoid, or going to a house that they're unsure about, or going to a party they're unsure about, or getting in a car with someone that they don't know if they should trust. And so these are things that all can be peer pressure situations because their friends are like, oh, it's fine. Come on. I already know this person. They're safe. And then it's like, should they trust it? Should they not? They want to go with their friends, but they're not sure. And so it's more subtle when they're younger. But then even also as they're getting older, it's still a through line of like being in a friend group, following trends on social media, even if they think like, the dancing is a little old for them, or they're like, trying to show cleavage, or they're trying to dress in a certain way that looks older, or they're trying to do a certain dance that's more provocative, whatever it would be. or how far physically they go with someone when they get a boyfriend or girlfriend, or, what that looks like. So, really it's all about them feeling like they can be who they are and stay true to themselves and their values. And part of growing up, as we know, is figuring those things out. And so the first tip I want to give you is starting with their core values. And this could be something that you've talked about all of their life, and like what your family values and what type of person they should be showing up in the world, giving to others, and feeling good about who you are, and being trustworthy and kind and respectful and honest and all these things. But as we know, kids will experiment and they'll kind of push the line on honesty, or they might occasionally do something that doesn't seem as kind as you thought, or, whatever it would be. And so because they're humans, they're going to mess up just like we do. And it's always coming back to that core of who they are. And if you don't have like open conversation about your family values, then there's no wrong time to start. There's always time, there's always a way. And so to me, it would be very eye-opening to sit down and say, what do you think are that we value as a family? Like, what's important to us, and how do we show up in this family? And see what they say. This would be all of your kids, but especially your daughter. Like, what does she say when you say that to her? And I think it's really eye-opening. Sometimes they say things that we don't expect, and in a good way. And it's like, oh, good. I'm glad that she got that. Or if she's like missing a major core value that you thought was very clear, then it could be opening that conversation about it and talking about how we show up as a family, how we want to be as a friend, as a, daughter, a mom, whatever. And so it's just developing that sense of self-worth and what you believe in your family dynamic, and what you all agree on as family core values. And then your daughter, might be prepared way better if you were having those conversations about the peer pressure when it arises, and saying to her, you always can check back in with yourself about if this aligns or this matches with what we value as a family and what you value as a person. And it's asking her, how do you want to show up as a friend? Or how do you want others to see you? And it doesn't mean that they're looking for validation, but just means like, how do you want others to see you? And are you showing up in that way? And then when the peer pressure arises, then it can be like checking in with yourself. Like, is it matching? Is this decision you're about to make matching, that you say kindness is a core value, or respect is a core value, or honesty or trustworthiness, whatever that is. So one example is like that could be like a really subtle example is like at recess, your elementary school daughter is being pressured by a friend to play a game. And this may not seem like something that is a big deal, but maybe it's like this one friend loves to play a certain game that your daughter doesn't enjoy. Now, it's important for her to express that she can say to her friend, like, I don't really like to do that at recess. Like, I don't really love to play kickball. Like, I'll watch you play, but I don't really want to play. I'd like to go over here and play on the equipment, or I'd like to swing, or I'd like to go play soccer, or whatever it would be. And knowing that her friends aren't going to be mad at her or pressure her into always doing what they want her to do at recess. And I would see this a lot in the classroom is like, and when I was out at recess duty, like a lot of girls will try and almost, I don't want to say force, but like pressure their friends into playing the same things that they want to play every day. And if that girl or those girls didn't want to do that thing every day, then it was seen as like a slam to that friend group, or like something that they were like, well, are you not friends with us anymore? You don't want to do the dance competition every day? Because there would be a group of girls who would perform a dance and then rate each other. And then some of them were like, I don't want to do that. I want to do something else. So it's about teaching her how to respectfully express her opinion, and also let her friends know that I still like you. I just don't want to do that activity. Or maybe we could do it once a week, and then I pick something another time, or this person picks something another time, or we decide on these certain days. I had girls that had schedules with their friends, and I never initiated that. That was all on them, and that worked for them. So it's about being able to express how you feel about something without being pressured to always give in to what your friends want, even if it's something as little as playing what they want to play at recess. And so, in elementary school, it's asking your daughter, like, what if a friend asks you to play a game you don't like? And then it's having that conversation of like, how could you say no without feeling bad? And how could you also be open to trying new things? So it doesn't mean your daughter never tries anything different. It's just like, if you're starting to feel pressured to do something, how can you express how you're feeling about it and come up with a better solution without feeling bad, or that those friends are going to leave you if you don't do exactly what they want you to do, which is a form of peer pressure. And then at middle school, it's like, what if there's exclusion in your friend group? So I had a girl talk about this a couple weeks ago. Is like, in my friend group, there was a girl who wanted to hang out with a different friend group. And so, is that allowed in the friend group? Like, some of the girls in the group were pressuring that girl and being like, why are you wanting to go hang out with this other group? She doesn't hang out with us. Like, why do you want to go hang out with the art kids or whatever that would be? Like, I think I wouldn't group people as whatever, but just as an example. Or like, why do you want to go hang out with all of your choir people? Like, why don't you want to hang out with us at lunch? And so then it's like feeling like she's excluding, or feeling like they're excluding her by not letting her hang out with who she wants. Like, there's a possession kind of thing. Or there was another example with a girl who said, she hung out with this girl in class and they got along great, did projects together, and like, she thought it was developing into a friendship. And then this girl belongs to this bigger group that hangs out together, and they're kind of the popular crowd. And she said, I went to say hi to her in the hallway, and the girl didn't say hi back. Like, she just looked at me and like barely gave me a smile. And she was like, it was so weird to me because we were just hanging out in class together. We were doing a project together. We were talking, we were laughing. Like, I thought we were going to be friends. But this other girl felt such pressure to be in only that group that she was willing to exclude this girl because she was afraid of being rejected by that group. So it's a lot of times the exclusion. And it's teaching your daughter, if she were the friend in that case, to speak up and say something like, I want to include other people. And like, I feel like I should be able to say hi to people, or I should be able to go and hang out with a different group without you guys being mad at me. So it's her saying like, I think we should include others, or I think we should be able to be friends with whoever we want. And it's her being strong enough to say that and feel like, okay, if they are not okay with that, are these the kind of friends I want to hang out with? And then same thing in high school. It's like, as they do other things, like go to people's houses who, maybe it's a study hangout, or maybe it's just a hangout and you're not sure about, you've never been to this person's house, and you pull up and it looks a little off, or there's some people there that your daughter doesn't know, and she feels a little uneasy about it. Or maybe there's an older brother who makes her uncomfortable because of how he acts at school, or an older sister who's kind of mean to people, and then she's at the house, And so it's her again confidently saying like, this isn't right for me, and being able to text you or call you for a ride, or to tell her friends like, I don't want to be here, I'm gonna head home. Like, even if it's within walking distance, she could walk home safely. So it's about her paying attention to that internal, I call it antenna, where you're like figuring out like what feels right to you. And like, when you have those alarms go off in your body that something feels off, that she needs to pay attention to that. Or if she, like, her antenna, or however you want to say it, is just feeling a little heightened because it seems like there could be something that isn't quite right here, that she is able to say something in a very confident way without fear of losing her friendship, or without fear of them judging her for getting out of the situation. So Yeah, so those are some examples of ways that she can check in with herself about core values, and each of these examples is like she's checking in with herself about, and it's you having these conversations with her with like, does this match with what we believe? If trustworthiness is a core value and you show up to this house and it feels untrustworthy, it's you noticing that and getting out of the situation or asking for help to go home or whatever it would be. Or if someone's breaking a rule and you don't feel comfortable with it, it's saying something. Like any of those cases, it's always checking back in with those core values. And asking her things like, what if your friends are doing something that you know isn't right for you? How would you handle that? It's having that conversation with her. Or how would you feel if a friend tried to leave someone out? What's a way to include everyone? Like, what would be a good way to include everyone in that middle school example? Or any number of things. So the second one then is you can role play real life scenarios. So this doesn't only have to be younger kids. Like I think you would be surprised that older kids also will role play and they like to almost rehearse what they're going to say at times. So it's at least offering them the option. And so role playing peer pressure situations. Now, this doesn't mean we're putting a lot of fear in their heads of like danger and like, what if this happens and what if that happens? You could also, I mean, a proactive approach would be just practicing with you ways to stand her ground about something. So if she's been talking lately in the elementary age about her friends kind of bossing her about things or not letting her really have her own opinions, like they're choosing books that their book club reads and they're choosing what she wants to play at recess and she's just feeling kind of out of control with that, then it's practicing simple situations where your daughter might be asked to do something she doesn't want to do. And such as being pressured into a silly activity she's not comfortable with. So it's helping her say no respectfully and then saying to her, like, what if a friend wants to do something, that you don't think is a good idea? How could you say it in a polite way, but also an assertive way? It doesn't have to be that you shy away from it. It just is like, you don't have to be mean or rude about it. You could just say, like, I don't really feel comfortable with that. How about if we do something different? And that's very assertive. And then in middle school, be role playing like gossip situations or exclusion. If these things are coming up for her, these are very common. What would you do if one of your friends started talking about a friend that just had walked away from your friend group? Meaning, this girl told me, a middle school girl told me a little while ago that she had a group of 4 friends, and 2 of the friends didn't like one of the girls. And then she liked everyone. So she felt really in a weird position because every time that one girl that they didn't like walked away, they started talking about her. And she felt super uncomfortable even standing there. She's like, I was like, did you feel guilty like you were a part of it? And she was like, yes, I felt like I was being roped into this and I wasn't even saying anything bad. I just felt super uncomfortable. So she described like almost like she wanted to get out of there. And so we talked about ways she could handle it. And so, that's very common is sometimes they're not the gossiper, but they're like the witness of it. And then they know that these 2 people are talking about the other person, but they don't know if they should tell the girl who they're talking about. They don't know if they should confront them because there's a fear that those people start doing what they're doing to the other girl, to her. And so I say, you should be able to say something to your friends in an honest and respectful and kind way. Like, I don't think we should talk about her when she's not around. That's very assertive. It's very direct. It's not mean. It's stating, your stance on it. And then if they are like, well, who do you think you are? And they're like, start to attack her, then that's a big red flag that she is not around the right types of friends. And so, it's asking her, like, are those the people you want to be around? And if she says, well, they don't act like that to me, then having a conversation about that and being like, well, how would you feel if you walked away and they were talking about you to the other girl and you didn't know it, and so talking through those things. So it's also about not being pressured into talking bad about the other person and being roped into the gossip. So teaching her how to stand up for others. And that can feel so risky at middle school because there is such a fear of being abandoned. There's a fear of not having friends. There's a fear of getting a reputation for being like too goody goody or whatever the term would be. And so you could just, say to her, like, how do you feel when you see someone being excluded? How would you stand up for them, or what could you say? And then in high school, it's all about social activities, fitting in. And so you could role play how to handle different situations that maybe she brings up. Maybe things that she's not comfortable with, like skipping class or going to someone's house she doesn't feel right about, or getting in someone's car she doesn't sure about as she gets older. Or if someone's cheating and she knows about it and she feels weird about it, and they're like, don't tell anyone. And they're like pressuring her to keep a secret or something that's not necessarily a dangerous secret, but just like something that feels off to her. So it's reassuring her that she doesn't have to explain herself if she says no about something, like, I don't feel comfortable with that. I don't want to be around you if you're going to choose to cheat, whatever that would be. And saying like, well, what would you do if your friends wanted to go somewhere you weren't sure about? Or what if you were in a situation you weren't sure how to handle, or they were doing this and that? So it's not about putting these things in her mind to help her have all these things to worry about. It's more about helping her know how to navigate things that have come up for her. And it's checking in with her about how things are going and if she ever feels pressured about anything with her friends. And it's having that open communication about it. And then the third tip is to create a peer pressure shield. So this isn't like they're making a paper shield and pretending to be a superhero. This is like they're pretending that they have a shield in front of them. If you can imagine a superhero, it blocks, the negative things or the lasers or whatever it would be. It protects them. So it's like having, and I described this to some girls about having an invisible bubble around you too, that is your core values and how you want to react in social situations. So the shield can remind her to stand firm in her beliefs, and that no matter what others say or do, she can stand tall in knowing and like shielding off the negative things, and knowing that she is always going to hold on to her core values of respect and kindness and honesty and whatever those things are to her. And that if other people aren't that to her, that she doesn't have to take that in. She can almost create a shield around herself where it's like when she's facing situations that she's unsure about, the shield can make her feel more secure. And it can remind her of a visual of like what would go on your shield that would block those things. So I'm talking about an elementary school age. This would be a good way to relate the idea of it, is like, what would be the words on your shield? And so those would be like core values or things that she believes that she wants to be as a person. And then these would remind her what's important to her and what she values and who she wants to be when she's outside of the house or when she's in the house. And then with middle school, it would probably be, courage and loyalty and empathy, and helping her see the importance of standing by these values. And that when she feels peer pressure, she faces it, it's like she can go back to these same thing, these words that are important to her if she feels uncomfortable. And she doesn't have to let the peer pressure or other people change what she believes about that certain thing. And always coming back to, is this, am I being surrounded by the right people? And are they matching? And it doesn't mean they have to be exactly like her, but are they matching my things that are important to me in friendship, in social situations? And thinking of it more like the middle school age, she liked the idea of a bubble, and like, how can your bubble help you get through tough situations? What does it remind you to do? And so then it's like a protection. And same thing with, the values of the high school might, again, they might always stay the same, or hers might be more about confidence and self-respect and having boundaries and having her listen to her inner voice, teaching her to rely on her shield to make her strong and to help her with independent decisions as she's getting older and having to make decisions when you're not around without having to call you or check in, which obviously if she's ever in danger or feels unsure, she can check in with you, but we want them also to be able to do that on their own too, and know that they can stand tall in who they are and feel like they have that shield of their values to protect them and to always check in with themselves and go back to. And then it's empowering her to use the shield whenever she needs it. So it's just a metaphor for, going back to those things when she needs to make decisions about her friendship, about what she's doing, who she's interacting with, how she's treating others. And so what this is going to do is it's going to empower your daughter to give her more confidence in making those decisions. It's going to help her align with her values, remind herself of them. It's going to allow you to have stronger conversations together. It's going to help her have stronger friendships by helping her navigate peer pressure in these ways and learning how to build healthier, more supportive friendships, and how to help her just feel more secure in who she is as an individual, as a person, and how to say no without guilt or without having to always feel like you have to make other people happy or go along with everything so people aren't mad at you. And setting that foundation for that strong self-esteem that's going to help her feel solid and secure in what she believes. And look, she's going to make mistakes, and that's okay. I mean, we always make mistakes along the way, and it doesn't mean that we intend to, but there are times when we don't listen to that inner voice, or we ignore a value, and then later we always, see it and be like, okay, yep, I knew that wasn't a kind thing to do or respectful thing to do. I was worried about what they were going to think, but when I check in with myself, now I see that was the wrong decision, and here's what I would do better next time. So it's always about the growth, and it's always about improvement, and when you mess up, not shaming them for it, but it's human. It's human nature to make mistakes and then to want to fix it and make it better the next time. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. And that's what we want to instill in our daughters so that they grow up confident in knowing who they are, what they believe, and what feels right to them and their life, whether they're in elementary, middle, or high school or beyond. Always knowing that they can check in with that home base with themselves of what's important to them and their values. And, it's always going to be part of growing up to have peer pressure, but by helping our daughters navigate it, then we can equip them to handle anything. And so I want you to practice these tips, try these things out. If there's other things that work for you and your daughter about peer pressure and conversations you've had, I'd love to hear from you. And, I'm here to support you just like you're there to support your daughters. And we're all in this together. I know you can do it, and keep raising those confident girls who know how to check in with themselves and listen to their inner voice and not give in to peer pressure and know how to navigate it along the way. I'll see you next week. Thanks for joining another empowering episode of the Raising Confident Girls podcast. Share today's insights with caregivers and friends, building beautiful relationships with strong girls. Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. We're not just a podcast, we're a community. Follow Girls Positivity Club on social media for more empowering content on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. This podcast empowers you, supporting incredible girls. Let's create strong, beautiful relationships with the girls in our lives. I appreciate you listening today. Stay confident, stay connected. Until next time, keep raising those confident girls. You've got this.